Let's get into the idea of celebrities in politics. It's kind of a new phenomenon you talk about.
It's actually been a part of US history for longer than we think. And something I was really fascinated with was just the extent to which the founders talked about this. Hamilton and Madison, all over the Federalist Papers, talk about this puzzle that they were fascinated with, which is that celebrities are really extremely talented on the campaign trail, and they're very well suited to win elections, but they're poorly qualified to govern. So what do we do about this? And is it good or bad for democracy? That's kind of the question the book seeks to answer.
In the book Star Power, you discussed that sometimes people get into the political arena for the first time from a celebrity background, and they don't understand a lot about governing. Some people might argue that some of the people who have been there forever, 30, 40 years in governing, they don't seem to know a lot about it either because they don't get much done. How do you respond to that?
I've certainly heard that argument, and it's a common one that, this is a democracy, and celebrities in some ways are an antidote to those big political machines that we had in the past and party-controlled elections. But the problem is when celebrities get in and they don't listen to advisors and they don't adhere to some political norms, they have trouble getting things done. So it's not just that it's bad for government, it's that they can't even accomplish their agenda that their constituents want them to. And by the way, this is not a Republican phenomenon. We've had a lot of high-profile examples of Republican celebrities running and winning, especially at the executive level. But it goes for political amateurs on the Democratic side, too. This House of Representatives is the least politically experienced we've ever had, and that shows in a lot of ways.
In a representative government like ours, I think most of us would say, but we want a representation of the broadest possible aspect of who America is. Does it help or hurt if we do pick out a few celebrities and put them in? After all, they're part of America's fabric and landscape as well.
Ronald Reagan is a great example, and I'll go back to when he was governor of California instead of when he ran for president and would have been an experienced politician at that point. Whether you listen to the advice of advisors is a huge variable in how successful you can be. And a lot of people didn't know that Reagan wrote letters to Eisenhower. He thought deeply about political issues and policy, and he did listen to advisors. Same with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He had advisors from both sides of the aisle.
Ronald Reagan is, I think, a great example of somebody who was a celebrity before he became a political figure. Mm-hmm. He did listen to advisors, but there were times when he put aside all the advice he was getting, and a great moment of that is when, in the speech at the Brandenburg Gate, when he said, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." Every single advisor on his own staff, on the State Department staff, everyone told him to take that line out, and they all crossed it out. He kept putting it back in. It became one of the most important moments of the entire Cold War, and perhaps the first shot to kill it. So sometimes, doesn't it help if a person takes the advice but then ignores it and does what their instincts tell them to do?
I think instincts are the perfect word for it. Ronald Reagan had great political instincts. Donald Trump has great political instincts in a lot of cases. But I think the trouble is when you're really ideological and, or rather when you don't have a strong sense of a core policy belief. That can be really good. And so the example of Reagan, and he was invested in that part of the world and the policy there deeply, but also Donald Trump with criminal justice reform. That's not something most people associate with a Republican platform, but because he's not so ideological, he was open to that issue, and it was very successful for him. But on the other end, we do want sometimes politicians, either Republicans or Democrats, to dig into the policy to understand it and to adhere to some of the party norms. Those guidelines are there for a reason. And so it can be a big boon to the administration, but it can also be a thorn in their side.
Dr. Wright, I think your book is a very, very fascinating insight. And, it's not written so academically that the average reader can enjoy it and get the message of it. But the research behind it is very valuable to somebody interested in politics. I would just sort of say that, some people have gone from celebrity into politics. Then there are people like me went from politics and ended up in showbiz. So I guess it can go either way.
That's true. And, I think you probably have better entertainment instincts than a lot of politicians out there, but a lot of people don't have both. And so I think the ability to communicate clearly with people is something sometimes we do find in politicians, but it's rare. And it tends to be something that's requisite for the entertainment industry. If you don't have the ability to get a big crowd and get people interested in you and get them to believe in your message, then it's very tough to survive in show business. But that skill set can really help in politics too. So you're right, it absolutely goes both ways.
It's been great having you, Dr. Lauren A. Wright. And Keith Bilbrey is standing by to tell us where we can get Dr. Wright's eye-opening book. Keith, tell us about it.
Star Power, American Democracy in the Age of Celebrity Candidate is available right now on Amazon and at other booksellers. You can also learn more and read an excerpt from it at laurenawright.com. And follow Dr. Wright on social media at Dr. Lauren A. Wright.